Just like there isn't another guy like Mike McGarry out there. There's only one. It's like Tigger. There's only one. He's our guest here on the Pete Thompson Show on 97.3 ESPN as we do a South Jersey Sports Report segment, find out the latest of what's going on from high school football. Although, Mike, I'm going to turn a little solemn first and foremost because I wasn't here last week to catch up with you. And just if you could maybe recap a little about the week that was. I mean, from last week to this week and the run of emotions. You know, I said earlier what a day last Friday was. It started out with the news that Holy Spirit lost their former coach, Bill Walsh, to ALS after a brave, courageous fight. And then the night, we all know what took place that night in Pleasantville, just a ugly, ugly scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite an emotional week for, I think, for everybody. Obviously for the Pleasantville and Camden football and school communities, obviously for Holy Spirit, you know, and just kind of reflecting back on it. I think just the only thing you have is just a feeling of sadness. I mean, I think that's, you know, a week after it's happened, as it begins to set in, as you really begin to not fully understand what happened, but you get some distance from it. I think the one emotion I have is just, you know, I can just describe it as just sadness for what has happened, you know, the past, you know, since last Friday, basically.
So, Mike, last night you make the long drive up to Jersey City, right? That's no easy commute to begin with, and I know you're a little farther north than our Northfield studios, but that's still no easy drive. And then the way you wrote it is the actual perfect word, stunned St. Augustine Prep. Break that down for us of how that game played out and how it finished.
Yeah, obviously, you know, just a great game. It's a state non-public 4 quarterfinal. St. Augustine goes up to Caven Point in Jersey City. And you mentioned the drive. I don't mind the drive. I feel comfortable up there in North Jersey, surrounded by cement sometimes. So feeling my element a little bit. You know, the field is a great field. It's in the shadow of the New York City skyline and the Statue of Liberty out there, kind of on a point that juts out into the New York Harbor. It was cold. It was windy. And you know, the bottom line is St. Augustine just played a tremendous football game, but they got beat 35-28. And as I wrote, you know, St. Peter's stunned St. Augustine. St. Peter's quarterback Bullock scores a winning touchdown on a quarterback sneak with less than 10 seconds to go in the game. But St. Augustine stuns the state high school football community because nobody expects a team from South Jersey to go up there and really go toe-to-toe with one of those North Jersey parochial powers. St. Peter's Prep, #1 seed in the state non-public 4 bracket, which is not only probably the top bracket in the state of New Jersey, it's probably one of the top playoff brackets, you know, in the Northeast and one of the best in the country. And St. Augustine right there, they fall behind 14-0. Kenny Selby gets an interception, and they go up 28-21 in the fourth quarter. But St. Peter's Prep makes some big plays in the final 9 minutes, and as I wrote, stunned St. Augustine 35-28.
Yeah, that Selby touchdown. I mean, I'll tell you what. Not only were they stunning and showing up, but they had the lead. They had the lead late. You know.
Yeah, they just showed a ton of, you know, character and resiliency. You know, they go up there and they fall behind 14-0, and you're kind of like, okay, here we go again. You know, St. Augustine, yeah, they beat Seton Hall Prep last Saturday, but, you know, they can't play 2 games in a row against these North Jersey non-public powers. And, you know, they've had a nice season, but now they'll fade away, and it's 14-0 St. Peter's, and it'll finish up 28-7 or 35-14. And thanks for coming, St. Augustine. And that wasn't the case. And St. Augustine, really, I think the other story of the game last night is the play of sophomore running back Kanye Udo. I think 25 carries, 138 yards, if I'm remembering the stats right off the top of my head.
Yep.
And he just impressed. I mean, he really kind of established himself as one of the top players in the state of New Jersey. And he has an offer from Temple, but if you don't see a lot more college offers come in for Kanye Udo in the next couple of weeks or so after what he did last night, I think you're going to see a lot more offers. A lot of times it looked like there was nothing to gain, and he was able to break tackles and make yards where there were none. So just really an outstanding performance by him.
Yeah, you did write about that 25 for 138, the touchdown, only a sophomore. And that was the first thing I thought of when I read that paragraph that, boy, if he doesn't have any offers yet, he's going to have a lot. And it does please me to hear, as a Temple alum, great, the Owls got in first. Now let's watch some SEC school or some Big Ten school or some bigger school come and try to wow him and dazzle him, but hopefully he remembers who talked to him first. We'll see. I mean, it's crazy too, Mike. This guy's this is how it works. In his sophomore season, they start coming after you. And not only that, but this has to elevate. It's not just that he had a 25 for 138 and a touchdown. It's who he did it against.
Yeah, absolutely. He did it against a defense with a guy going to Ohio State. So, and Cody Simon, the St. Peter's Prep linebacker. So you're not going to face a tougher defense than St. Peter's Prep in the state of New Jersey. So St. Peter's Prep 10-1, the number one seed in state non-public 4. It's kind of a double-edged sword for St. Augustine in a way. If you go, I wrote a story for the paper. The game ended so late, and then online there's a version with some quotes from Pete Lancetta, and he mentioned that we were right there and we got a taste of it, and obviously the loss for the seniors and last night on St. Augustine, there's not a lot of consolation there. But the other thought last night that I had, and people in the press box up there in Jersey City had, boy, they were just sophomores all over the field last night for St. Augustine, and they were making big plays. Udo is a sophomore. Kenny Selby is a sophomore. Carnell Davis, who caught a touchdown pass, is a junior. St. Augustine is loaded with talent coming back. So, again, that's not going to be a consolation for Isaiah Rakes, the big defensive tackle and running back going to Texas A&M, who's a senior. But as far as the Hermit's future, boy, it's bright, and there's no reason to think that next year or the year after they can't go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the state of New Jersey.
Mike McGarry's with us, press of Atlantic City. He was in Jersey City last night, Cave and Point, freezing his patootie off. Now he's in the press box. Maybe it was somewhat warm there, but they're not necessarily well-insulated either. Let me ask you this, Mike, about St. Augustine and the way their schedule sets up, too. That's it, right? So, I mean, that's what's also disheartening. They were so close to being able to play at MetLife Stadium, and now at one point they used to play a Thanksgiving game. I thought it was against Buna, wasn't it? And then another point, then they started up a rivalry with Cedar Creek, and then that quickly went away, and now they don't have a Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the deal there. You're right. They used to play that neighborhood game with Buna Regional, the public school that's located kind of, up Route 40 from them. They used to play that on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and that just always seemed to be the coldest, miserable night of the year. You say that game to me, and I just see fog and mist and cold weather being blown across the Buna field there. Then for a while, they played Cedar Creek there, but they haven't had a Thanksgiving game in a while. So last night, and St. Peter's Prep advances to play in MetLife this Friday night coming up, while St. Augustine season ends at 7-4. And considering where they were with a 1-3 start, we've talked about Udo and Carnell Davis and Angelo Vocal as three big transfers becoming eligible. They go from 1-3 to 7-4 and take the best team in the state of New Jersey to the final seconds before bowing out. But the flip side is, that they can look at it as they were, 9 minutes away with the lead from playing in MetLife Stadium for a state title next Friday night.
So, Mike, before I move on to some of the other games from last night, since I kind of brought up and touched on Thanksgiving a little bit, the news breaks this week officially. I had heard some rumblings about it actually at the Ocean City Mainland game, but breaks officially that this will be the last year between Mainland and Egg Harbor Township for a Thanksgiving game. Your thoughts on that news?
Well, I mean, I wrote a column last year, and everybody kind of
killed you.
I think, yeah, well, I mean, but I'm going to be right in the long run. So, and this is a step forward. I mean, I'm not. I think it's time. These Thanksgiving games are disappearing around the state, as you mentioned. This will be the last time Mainland and Egg Harbor Township play on Thanksgiving. Again, my theory is it's a playoff world out there. There's so much emphasis on the playoffs. We seem to be headed towards the public schools playing for a state champion. We're one game away from that scenario now. really one of the big things standing in the way is the Thanksgiving games. And, to me, I think it's time to shift those games to the opening week of the season, make them a celebration of the start of the school year, the start of the high school football season, play them that opening week, and go from there. So I just think it's just the way of the world. I mean, a lot of things sort of fade away with time, and I think Thanksgiving football, is one of them.
Mike McGarry's with us, Press of Atlantic City, here on the Pete Thompson Show on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Mike, let's do a fairly quick whip around of the Friday night scores that came out. I'll touch on each game. You can offer a little comment, and then we'll move on to the next one. We'll start with the Central Jersey Group 4 champs now. First title for a while for Hamilton, sectional title. They beat Jackson Memorial 28-12.
Yeah, Hamilton continues to roll, right? What's that, 9 wins in a row? Jaden Abrams, it's the formula that they've used all season long. Running back Jaden Abrams, 3 touchdowns. Ryan Bart's timely passes. I think he threw for a touchdown. Hamilton gets their first sectional title since 2009. They'll play Shawnee in a couple of weeks for in the Regional Bowl championship game. Those teams met earlier this season. Shawnee won that game. I think the score was 31-19, but Jaden Abrams, Hamilton's standout running back, missed that game with a concussion. So certainly exciting times with the Blue Devils, and congratulations to Coach Jim Rasso out there as Hamilton, kind of back where they belong, a football power with their first sectional title in 10 years.
Yeah, I mentioned Nick Cuba's tweet on the air that, he said, hey, our bad. We said they were going to be spoilers. We didn't know they were going to rip off win after win after win, but I thought that was funny. And you mentioned Shawnee. You want to know how good Shawnee is? Ask anybody from Ocean City this morning.
Yeah, 28-0 there, and that's just typical Shawnee. I mean, nothing fancy, nothing, flashy, but just, a great defensive game and solid offense. And they are the defending South Jersey champions. They defend that title. I think they might have won 3 in a row. And so here they go playing Hamilton in that regional championship game. So great job by the Renegades, but just a typical Shawnee performance out there in Burlington County last night.
So you were at a non-public 4 semi, the non-public 2 semi last night in Absecon has Holy Spirit winning big over Hudson Catholic 50-24, and there is a 1:00 game between a school we know, right? That's Morris Catholic and St. Joe on the other side that, most folks are going to sit there and go, well, looks like Holy Spirit and St. Joe are going to match up again.
Yeah, we certainly appear to be headed in that direction. Holy Spirit last night, their running back Patrick Cheek Smith, 7 touchdowns, Pete. That's a career for some kids. He has
Absolutely.
A career night, literally a career night. 7 touchdowns, that's a great career for some kids. Cheek Smith gets 7 in one night. Holy Spirit goes through to the title game. You mentioned St. Joe. They host Morris Catholic out there today in Hamilton at 1:00. St. Joe hasn't played since November 2nd. Seems like a lifetime ago. 3 weeks ago, because they had a double bye in the playoffs. They've had these types of layoffs before. They've always been able to handle it. There's not much on the football field that St. Joe can't handle, but they'll return to the field today. And if they win, we'll get that game at Rutgers in 2 weeks. St. Joe and Holy Spirit again for the state non-public 2 title.
Is that your game? Is that where you're going?
Actually, Pete, man does not live by football alone, as I say. We will have a reporter there today. I am headed to the hills of Homedale today for some state cross country. Olivia Schaefer of EHT, Kevin Ansek of Mainland Regional, Jackson Braddock of Southern Regional. So I will be out there chronicling the efforts of those 3 great kids in the Meet of Champions.
Nice. I'm just poking the bear a little. And let me get you a lozenge, too. It sounds like it definitely was cold in Haven Point. We're at that point of the season. Well, I know we're going to have Minnick on later, and he was at the Williamstown game. They beat Lenape 14-10. Anything else that jumped out at you? Like, let's see here. Hillside beats West Deptford 14-10. Cherokee blows out Kingsway 35-6. I'm scrolling through the other scores here. Wall Township, 1 point win over Rumson Fairhaven. That one was tight. And then Willingboro just, really roughs up Salem. So, some interesting scores out of Friday night action. Anything jump out to you?
Yeah, what jumps out to me is that WJFL, that American division with St. Augustine in it, with Lenape, with Williamstown, with Cherokee in it. I think Rancocas Valley is in the other team. Look at that division. Is there a better division in the state of New Jersey? St. Augustine takes the number 1 team in the state to the final second. Williamstown beats Lenape in a great South Jersey Group 5 final, and Cherokee wins the Central Jersey title. And Shawnees are in that division, and they win a South Jersey championship. So that's a division with, 3 teams that win sectional titles and 2 teams that are runner-up. And I got to say that if that's not the best division in the state of New Jersey, I'd like to see one better.
Mike McGarry going on the record, West Jersey football American division, one of the best divisions in the entire state of New Jersey, if not the country, says McGarry. All right, listen, get a lozenge, get some rest, get some hot tea, get up there and give us some Pulitzer Prize-winning cross-country coverage.
I'll see what I can do, Pete. I appreciate you putting up here with my voice, a little hoarse this morning, so I appreciate it.
Are you kidding me? This has basically been me since like late September. I've been like, I'm sounding more like Billy Schwein than I am myself. So feel better, McGarry. I hope to see you soon, my friend.
All right, I'll see you down the road, Pete. Thanks.